Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome each one of you to the CEO Talk. This is the startup special edition and initiative by the Talk. My name is Anmol Garg. I'm the founder of a sales training company called Sales 5X, and I will be the facilitator for today's session. CEO Talk is a platform that helps sharing ideas and insights to transform organizations and to create a better and transparent forum for meaningful business relationships and partnerships. This event is brought to you by Tata Tele Business Services. It's the country's leading enabler of connectivity and communication solutions for businesses. With services ranging from connectivity, collaboration, cloud, security, IoT, and marketing solutions, Tata Tele Business Services offers the largest portfolio of ICT services for businesses in India. I would like to invite and welcome all the panelists who've joined in for today's discussion. I know I can't hear a round of applause because this is not a real offline meet, but we will still clap for each other. We have with us Mr. Saurav Ray, CTO and Director of Operations, Findurtrip, and founder SecurIndia. Mr. Rakesh, Channaiah, co-founder and COO, DeepSight AI Labs, advisor for CodeGeeko.com. Mr. K. Pradeep Varma, CEO and co-founder, Kshemin Innovations Private Limited. Mr. Ranodeep Saha, CEO and co-founder, Rare Planet Handicrafts. And we have Mr. Sivakumar, Vondivillu, CTO, ZikZuk. Gentlemen, firstly, thank you for taking your time out and joining us for this CEO roundtable. I now invite Kshitish Padmakar Vaidya. He's the General Manager, SME Direct Sales, Enterprise Tata Tele Business Services, to deliver the welcome address.
It's a great pleasure to have all the distinguished panelists today. And I understand that they are taken time out from their busy schedule. And I can see that they're going from one event from the other event. But I think so that's what the startup life is all about. You know, you just do multitasking and do events at the same time and try to reach your brand and your company to the next level. I think that spirit keeping alive, we will start for today's session, and I welcome you all for this particular session, which is brought to you by Tata Tele Services, the connectivity partner in all enterprise domain. Over to you.
Thank you, Kshitish. Let's have a round of applause for Kshitish. He's been adding a lot of value in a lot of sessions that we've been organizing. Great. So, gentlemen, the format of this discussion is very simple. I have about 5 to 6 questions, and I would love to get your opinion on each of these questions. I request all the panelists to keep your answers short and crisp, just like your startup pitch. You know, this helps us to hear out from everyone, and we'll also wrap up on time. Having said that, let's get started. My first question, a quick 90-second take. I will go across all the panelists. How has the pandemic affected your business and your revenues? Part 2 to the question, do you foresee the second half of the financial year doing much better than the first half? I can see Sivakumar relaxing by the beach, so I'm going to go across to him first.
Right. Yeah. So, we started this business during this pandemic. So it is not so much relevant in terms of what kind of impact it has on the business, on the revenues, etc. But what we have done is we have used this time wisely. We have created the vision for this company. We have done the market research. We have created a business case. We have created the vision and the purpose for the company. We hired the team, and we have set up the foundation for the whole company during this pandemic. So we have used this time of lockdown to create a new company. So that's where we are.
Great. I think you've done all the background work, all the behind the scenes. If you have a robust network, what about sales? Do you feel that it had an impact on you during the pandemic?
So as I said, we just started, and our product is set to go to the market.
Okay.
And we are that the coming quarters is where our revenues are going to come in. But we have done a little bit of POC and tested the market. There is a great acceptance for the product.
Awesome. Awesome. Hats off to you. A lot of people said that the pandemic is the right time to start a business. And I think you've taken that challenge head on. Great to know, Sivakumar. Rakesh, how has business been for you during the pandemic?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Anmol, for this. I think, I started the first company, DeepSight AI Labs, which is 3 years old. Yes, there was a very tangible impact, I would say, which halted almost the business for 6 to 7 months because it was completely B2B. And we were in a physical business where securing the banks, securing the factories, so everything was halted. And, the pipeline, which was very strong just pre-COVID because of digitization, they started looking at it in a big way. It halted for 9 months, 6 to 7 months. And that also gave us an opportunity to rethink our strategies and models, where we completely moved from offline, on-premise solution to the completely cloud-based. We became a SaaS. It pushed us, maybe you would have taken more time to do it, but this made us, like turbocharge to move into SaaS, right? So that's something happened. And second thing, on the other company which I started advising, because also very closely I started working, it was a tremendous difference. I could see that it was going in a north way because a lot of kids were joining for online courses. Codico is basically a company which focuses on text-based, coding and life skills. Okay, so that made a very good impact, very positive impact when compared to other edutech companies, and it attracted more outside India. So you can see there's a huge difference. One of the companies facing challenges because of this pandemic, but the other company, because of digital, a lot of people coming online, it helped us a lot.
Sure. So diversification is something that's helped you.
Yes.
Right. And is the second half looking much better? Things have opened up now.
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Yes, in fact, on the AI side, AI, especially B2B, B2B is always a challenging one. And what has happened is we focused on India, UK, and South African markets, and it's like very up and down, because sometimes the lockdown happens, there is a event of silence from the customer, the no response, because they want to wait for lockdown to come out, right? So I would say H2 would look more positive, because more of the people are looking to digitize, like physical automation. They want to reduce the resource. End of the day, security is seen very critical, but what I've experienced in last 3 years, companies see it as a cost for them. They don't want to keep it very high. So there is a lot of automation happening on that side, which we are now seeing new opportunities like warehouse from Dubai. A large retail chain in UK, they're asking for this. So that's a very good thing, and I see that is positive. And from the Code side, yes, it's actually increasing. It's getting even more interesting, because whenever there's a lockdown, more people jump into the platform.
Right.
That's what is happening.
Looks great. More power to you. Looks
Thanks.
Things are going to go on an upward swing from here. Pradeep, how have things been your end?
Yeah, so like we are a very early stage startup. So I just graduated last year from my engineering. So the plan was like we will go full on from 2020, because we will have full time to cater to our startup and all. But that didn't go as planned, because as soon as we came out of the college and started setting up the offices and all, the lockdown hit us. So that's the negative side of the COVID. But the positive side, like as soon as the lockdown occurred, the people who want to support early stage startups grew drastically. Like in our city also, there are a lot more people who want to support early stage startups. There are competitions coming up, there are hackathons coming up, there is government bodies organizing incubation centers and all. And we are very happy that during the lockdown, we managed to get an incubation from one of the biggest automobile manufacturers of India. And now in the second half of this financial year, we're looking to be mentored by them and looking at forward growth for our company from now.
Great. Sounds good. So you're also one of the entrepreneurs who's starting during the lockdown. Remember, the Airbnb and Ubers of the world came in the last depression, the financial depression. So we never know, a group of people from here can go on to do really great things. Great, Pradeep. Ranodeep, has the sales been as fast as the car that you're going in right now, or did it slow down last 6-7 months?
So on 24th of March, when the lockdown happened, we were mostly a airport retail kind of a model. So we are present across all the airports in the country, and our products do brilliantly well in airports. And we were in a 24 past 7 format. When the lockdown happened, we never even thought that there can be an incident where airports will stop or we will shut down the airports. So things were very depressing in the month of March and April, but we moved on to creating the Air Planet Essentials. My mentor, Wow Momo, Sagar, they also got into Wow Momo Essentials, and that gave us a lot of feed to create our own essential range. And on 25th of May, when airports reopened, our essential range was there all throughout airports. In the month of August, we had a Desh Ka Chai campaign with Tata Tea. So that was one of the biggest campaigns run by TCP, Tata Consumer Products. And that just flew off our digital sales. And pre-COVID, while we had nothing in digital sales, during Diwali this year, we surpassed our last year's Diwali. And this quarter looks very positive because we have already opened 2 new airport stores, Calcutta and Bangalore. More airport stores in the next quarter. So yeah.
I can see that smile, Ranodeep. It says it all. So the numbers are increasing second half. Do you see that you're going to probably match or even increase the growth pre-corona times?
Yeah. The second half of the year, we will, like the total turnover of the venture would go at least 1.5 times of the last year. So yeah, significant growth in the second half. Even we
Great.
raised a funding round in the middle of the COVID. So that again proves the amount of confidence investors had on our business.
Great. That's so nice to hear. I'll move to Saurav. Saurav is again at a beach. I think the theme of today's session is by the beach is what we should call. Saurav, how has the pandemic affected your business, your revenues, and H2? Do you see a spike?
Okay, so I would like to begin with this pandemic part as something. I mean, we always believe that whenever there is a chaos, there is opportunity. Okay, so
Well, I love the first.
yeah, I mean, purely based on yeah, right. So the B2B is purely based.
Sorry, Saurav, we are losing you. We just heard that where there is chaos, there's opportunity.
So that it was right. So we actually had a lot of less competitors because our competitors were recovering from their losses. Ours was a white clean board where we could provide much more, right? So yeah, I mean, while it was challenging in the beginning, but it also gave us a white clean slate to start with much reduced competitors. And then our focus was equally distributed through not only travel, but different other utilitarian services, regards to let it be bill payments, insurance payments, or even money transfer and all sort of other online things, which were equally important during the lockdown period, and they did not really get affected, right? And on my second startup, regards to information security, so that is something that always has been there. And given the pandemic where most of the businesses have moved to remote resorts, so that has been more important than ever. And we have got a lot of fundings on those aspects to R&D more on automated information security products, which are purely based on AI and machine learning. So yeah, I mean, we just try to be like a river. If there is an obstruction in front of us, we just directed our ways in a way we can surpass it, right?
I love that analogy of a river, right? Just find ways to just reach your destination.
Right.
Thank
I
you.
mean, businesses, something like that should keep flowing.
That's a great mindset. So, Saurav, do you see the travel sector, the tourism sector has also picked up now?
It's not just tourism sector. See, labor movement, okay, mass movement, because projects have reopened. They also contribute a huge amount of revenues to the travel sector, right?
Right.
So while it was stopped, but now that it opened, it's in huge volumes because they are trying to recover from the recurring losses, the delays in the project that have happened. So they have kind of provided us some project jump starts, okay? And also the best thing about it is a lot of our competitors who were working pre-COVID era, they had incurred a lot of losses. And right now their businesses are more about recovering the losses before they can provide more obligatory services towards, you know, like the feel good factor. But we don't have any of those losses to burden on. So we can provide, we can be much more flexible when it comes to providing those services at better rates, at better span, with better flexibility. So yeah, those things have played well for us.
Great, great. Good to know that, Saurav. We're going to shift gears here and try to understand. This is a question to all the panelists. Raise your left hand if you think that work from home has been really effective for you. Raise your right hand if you think we'll go back to office once things improve. Or give me a namaste if you think it's going to be a hybrid model. A namaste for hybrid model. Okay, that's half the audience. The rest of you, okay, we've got really interesting views out here. Sivakumar, Ranodeep are saying work from home. Rakesh is saying work from office. Pradeep.
Sorry.
Okay, he just changed it from work from office to
right
work
and left, so I was a bit confused.
Well, that's what Corona as well did. Suddenly from work from office, we went to work from home, right?
Yeah.
And that was really quick. Great. Saurav, where do you stand?
Somewhere in between.
Okay, so you're giving me a namaste as well. So we have Rakesh, Sivakumar, Ranodeep, who says that work from home is typically going to be the way forward. Am I right, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Okay, Rakesh, tell me if you think this is like a long-term model and things can actually survive just being at home.
Yeah, absolutely. See, there are two ways to see it. There are companies and businesses which expect, work from office is very important. And there were many certain, segments which never needed office. Let's seeing the, COVID thing, let's be honest that there are many things like IT, information technology never needed office. But yes, let me come to the other angle of, employees' perspective. But as a technology need, right? Be working from home is fantastic for many years. For example, if you take it, I've been working from home for almost close to 12 years, either in India or in UK, wherever I was, because yes, I was sales plus, talking to customers, but also going to office. But I never felt that, when we are working in technology, I always wondered, why there is a need of office. But yes, certain things needed. So to my point of view is that work from home might take a bigger leap now, because companies are like trusting employees and seeing the technology that is enabling. So I think that will become more, I would say, more normal to say that, I'm working from home. And, office, it might be there predominantly for manufacturing or very high security products, or maybe, culture of the company that, they cannot let go anything outside the company, or not accessing cloud. I would see that. But otherwise, predominantly, I would say work from home might take a very big, leap into the industry of the jobs, labors, whatever.
Sure. That's a very interesting perspective. Sivakumar, I want to ask you, did you even search for an office space? Normally, when you get started, you want to check out some co-working spaces or an office space, or was it like that thought didn't even come up in your mind? Sivakumar, you're on mute. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, we started our business during the pandemic and during the lockdown. So obviously, there was no question of looking for an office. So it was all working from home. Whether it is hiring, whether it is doing the business research, whether it is people coming together on video platforms and trying to brainstorm the business ideas. So all of that happened working from home. Of course, as we start opening up, the businesses started opening up. We started, we identifying one office space just to have a presence and just to see people each other face. But what we feel is that a lot of work, at least like 80 to 90% of the work, can be done remotely. A lot of roles can be completely done from remotely. Of course, there are a few things that you would still require an office, where you would come to office and probably do a brainstorming, or at least to have that boardroomy feeling, and also to create a culture, right? So that's one area where we do not have an answer. How do you create a culture if you're starting fresh and let's say you grow to 100 people? How do you ensure that the company culture, you build that and it's imbibed across the people? So that's something that we are not sure and we do not have an answer today. But we still think a lot of work can be accomplished doing working.
Sure, absolutely. In fact, very interesting point, company culture. I'm going to take this to Kshitish. Kshitish, you interact with a lot of SMEs on an everyday basis. What's the market telling you? Is it, of course, you voted for the hybrid model. Do you think SMEs are adopting the hybrid approach from your perspective? Kshitish, you're on mute.
Yes, I am now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely we are seeing diverse set of SMEs, and we work with the early stage startups to slightly matured organizations as well. And definitely all the experiences which the co-panelists have narrated so far, I think so those are valid and applicable to everybody. And there are few businesses definitely cannot be substituted by physical presence, and definitely manufacturing or logistics would be one of few of them, right? And we see that they have started spending during this time in a very rigorous way. There are certain organizations which like for the e-commerce segment. The e-commerce segment for us is a very big segment, and e-commerce spend a lot of money, and they wanted to fortify their security element very strongly, because because online also brings in a lot of security problems. Now coming to working, how were they working? And definitely there's no right and nothing wrong about it, because everybody went to the same churn. You talk about a large enterprise or a small enterprise, they all went to the same churn. And definitely it was the mammoth of a problem for a large enterprise would have been totally different, because they had already a workforce and they had to enable those workforce with all the technology elements. For just starting off, it was I think so in my mind could have been an easy problem to solve, but survival was a major problem to solve there. How do I survive my organization during this lockdown? So we have seen diverse, very diverse. There is no unique pattern to call it. Unique pattern would have been that everybody has gone through the same churn, but there were distinct elements in each and every segment which we were working with our customers during initial stages.
Sure. Pradeep, you also gave me a namaste, which is the hybrid model. Is that the model that you've been following so far?
Yeah. So as an early stage startup, like when the pandemic hit, what we did is, like, instead of looking outwards, like what all others are doing and what other companies are doing, what we have done is, like, we look inside of us. Like we saw that, like, some of the team members can work remotely from the home, and they are pretty much productive from inside. And some of the team need the bench, need the chair, and need the hardware support. So then we decided that instead of taking whole the team into the office, then we book only 3 chairs in the incubation center, which also saves the capital, which increases the productivity, and also then we will have an office. So it is a hybrid model which I'm looking for in the future also.
Great. I think that's a very smart call. You save money at the same time, and you can still meet as a team on different occasions. Ranodeep, if you are with us, I know you've been running around the event venue, but my question is that the new thing? You just go when the meeting is needed, but the rest of the stuff can be done at home?
Not really. We were a retail-centric brand, and for us, it was mostly in terms of the hybrid model doesn't work. We face a lot of problems with the work from home pattern, and we really wanted the offices to open, because see, everything we do is in retail. So I really want the offline space to come back, and we are operating all our offices at 100% occupancy at this point of time. So no more work from home restrictions at our offices.
Great. So probably digital sales will just be a part of the revenue. It might not supersede the actual offline retail revenues.
Yeah, true. Digital sales is just a part of the revenue. Actual sales, the airport sales will still continue to be the highest.
Sure. In your case, it's typically an enabler. Great. Saurav, if you can share your perspective, work from home, work from office, or a hybrid model.
Right. So for both the businesses, right, let it be the information security part or let it be the B2B channels, for whatever the businesses it has been, even for when it comes to my 9 to 5 job, right, let it be any one of these. For every business, I believe that there has to be a categorization, like for the services that we provide or even the products that we provide. They can be the virtual one and there can be the physical one, right? So all the virtual services, right, they can actually be done from the work from home part. But again, there are the physical part of productivity. There can be the physical services or the physical products or the physical infrastructure that also needs to be taken care of, right? So that aspect, that cannot be substituted with remote working, right? So it's mostly like yeah, as low as possible, but there has to be a physical presence. There has to be a work from office thing. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, wherever possible, let's work remotely, work from anywhere you would like. So
Sure.
that's how that's how I have been categorizing the workload so far.
Great. Rakesh, I'll come to you. What kind of technology adoption you initiated to ensure continuity of business during these tough times?
As I said, right, I mean, predominantly, there are two segments, like in DeepSight, it was already on cloud. Yes, it had an impact on us because it's high resource intensive trainings, because we are in AI especially. So we had to move everything to cloud quickly to make our technology platform available for employees to access it remotely. So I mean, fortunately, everyone is already having access to the laptop, so they just have to use it. But then, because we moved everything to the platform on the cloud, so they were able to access it remotely, and we did not go after to procure any specific software or anything, because it was all secured. We are all Amazon cloud, so it was easy to access it. So we did not see that challenge, and we also had that in mind, because you are always working remote in many times on weekends or late nights if required on demand. So it had that approach already in place. So that was very useful, I would say. And in the CodeGecko side, it was completely remote. So the day one when we started in October 2020, it started all remote. Even today, most of the staff and teachers or everyone, it is a global platform. So we never had any problem. We had this software to access it easily. So only thing, like, I agree on the culture side, it might impact unless we don't know better. It might, but I don't see that was a big problem. In our case, it was easy to go online and move everything over the cloud and keep moving. There was no stoppage at that time. Maybe productivity also, we did not see a challenge. So we never had any new tech to be introduced, at least in our case.
Got it. Any enterprise solutions you use to enhance your productivity?
I would say it was always same. Like either Zoom or team meeting. That's the only thing we have ever used more extensively. And I don't think anything we used. Yeah, no, not really.
Sure. So keeping it simple, keeping it very simple, and
Yeah.
just collaboration using video conferencing tools. Great.
Collaboration, yes, absolutely. Yeah, more of that was the key thing for us.
Great. Pradeep, what kind of technology adoption you ensured to make sure that there is continuity in business, there are no gaps?
Yeah. So so our primary customers are, for example, fleets and logistics department. So when the pandemic hit, their businesses went down. So then we sit back and thought that, like, the price at which we are selling is not affordable for them. So at least for next 2-3 years, they will not be purchasing our device if we sell at the same price. So for us to continue our business, or for us to enter the market and just hit the market, we should be involving technologies which can reduce the cost of the whole product. So we then sit back, brainstorm it, and then we included some technologies and AI which can drag down the cost of our device and then hit the market. So that's the technological challenge we have faced, and we have overcome it very well in the pandemic.
Great. And in terms of collaboration between you and your team members, what kind of technology did you use for that?
Yeah, coming to the collaboration, this is a very funny point because if you look at an early stage startup, if we are starting with the 3 people, then we are going to 50, then 100. At a point where we have to shift to digitally, right? We can't move everybody onto the office and all. So for us, even we are 3 people, we are meeting on Zoom, we are doing it on Slack, and we are using GitHub like this. So starting from the early point, using the digital platform even from the 3 members, 2 members point of view, that gives us a great advantage in future, because we already know like how it works and how to deal with it, and that gives a great advantage. And coming to technological adaptation, we pretty much use like Zoho Workspace and Google Workspaces to pretty much manage everything, like video calls, video meetings, the notes, and we use Miro boards for brainstorming and all. The fun fact is, like, it also saves a lot of paper, I guess. Like, instead of using the sticky notes, we can just go digitally into the Miro boards and we can brainstorm it digitally.
Great. I love that point where you said a 3-member team is also using tools which probably a 30-member or a 300-member team will eventually use. I think that's a great precedent to set. Sivakumar, same question. What kind of technology adoption you undertook to make sure there's continuity?
Right. So I think it kind of matches with what Pradeep was saying, because we were also an early stage startup, and because we were starting up fresh, there was no question of having office space and using something which is a closed office kind of thing, right? So whether it is our collaboration tools for meetings, so we use Zoom, and then we use Google Office, and for our code we have GitLab, and for any proof of concept for our product, we deploy it on the cloud, AWS. So everything was on cloud. So we kind of cloud native company, you would say, like we being a tech company and being a B2B software company, SaaS product company, we are kind of grew as a cloud native company.
Great, interesting. Saurav.
Right. So in our case, like we do have a couple of office locations. Our clients are pan-India based, and for the security part, some are based outside India as well, right? So for internal purposes, it's the same standard Zoom and Teams, but at the same time, because we have a lot of communication to make, we have a lot of offices. We besides we have 3 offices here, and also planning to expand to Halifax, that is in Canada. So we already have been utilizing Avaya clouds and spaces. Avaya technology is something that we have been using, because for those kind of enterprise calls and those kind of enterprise supports, we cannot really rely on Zoom and Teams. That's good for like internal meetings, right? But for like communicating with the customer, with our business partners, that is something we have been using.
Sure. It's interesting how in the startup edition of the CEO talk, I always hear the words AI repeated very often. But with the normal editions, AI is not used as often. So it's a very interesting, perspective for me as well. Any enterprise solutions you've used to enhance your productivity? Common question across. Yeah.
Well, in my case, we actually have one of, we developed a AI crawler, right, for our B2B part. Right. So that actually help us to lead to all our competitors, their prices, right? And similarly, to reduce workforce, it also was something that, for merging APIs, there are companies like Galileo, Medius, and a lot of other providers, right? So those AI crawlers, they were kind of seeing their stock trends, their price trends and everything. And every end of the day, we would get an auto-generated report of the market trending, which actually we didn't need to do any homework. And by end of the day, we would get a report based on which we could make our decisions about where should we partner with. And that's a completely in-house tool.
Great. Anyone else who's used some enterprise tool and you've seen a big improvement in the productivity of the workforce? Okay, I thought someone will say WhatsApp. WhatsApp or Signal for that matter. Great. I'm going to move to Rakesh. Rakesh, the question is, what are the challenges you faced in adopting to the new normal? Of course, these were unprecedented times. While we spoke about the technology adoption, what are the challenges that you faced as an organization?
Yeah, they one, like again, 2 different segments, I would say. One is that changing your entire digital model, the sales, I would say, like selling remotely. That's very challenging, because unlike your face to face, you get a sense of what's happening with the customer. But here, you don't have any options. Sometimes they'll not even switch on the video, so you are left with no choice to other than presenting it. So that I think is going to be one of the challenges, and it is going to be a much bigger challenge, because I saw a tremendous growth of sales automation tools, digital selling, online selling tools, automated tools, all because to help them and make them understand how to sell remotely. So remote selling, like I've been doing this remote selling for years now, because most of the time I sell outside India, or if I was in UK, I used to sell to European countries or US. It's all you have is a chance of 1 hour to impress the customer that you are good enough, you are the right person to ask for. And now it becomes, I think, the sales folks should use this intellectual capabilities and knowing themselves, what is that they're good at. That becomes important. And yes, I think the sales guys should start using the technology, which they are not used to. Because if you ask me, that part of the business in any big companies, it's all about the relationship. I should go over the customer, have a cup of coffee, talk to each other. It's all manual. I need to create that interest. But when we are completely online, we are over the phone. Take an example of edutech industries. We have to just make a call. We have no other option. So you have got only 1 minute chance to pitch yourself to the end user that why you are the best one, right? So there will be a lot of challenges on that side. It will only increase now because of crowding. And earlier, maybe I was in Bangalore. It was easy for me sell to somebody in Bangalore, but now somebody from Mumbai or somebody from Delhi can start selling to the same customer remotely, right? So that thing will become crowded, and there will be a lot of technologies that is needed to address this, more smarter technologies to enable the sales guys. And that we faced as a challenge today, because I had to visit UK for 2 times. All the 2 times it got cancelled last 2 years, and maybe we missed an opportunity to attract more customers. I would say that. So that's one of the challenge. I would say our sales was a challenging thing, to come into this kind of norm where I cannot meet anybody.
That's a very interesting perspective. And Rakesh, it's here to stay, right? Even though we might go back to offices, but a lot of sales, pre-sales conversations are going to happen over a call like this.
And over the call, and it will only increase, because earlier, when you do pre-sales, I do all the settings, I set the confidence in customer, and my sales guys will go and sell it. But now it's like, selling is also backseat. They also cannot go and meet. I would quote one example, earlier when I was working, there was one opportunity with Apple, and then we just entered, and there was 2 competitors, So we were a bit smart, so we were able to engage that customer, take him out, spend some half an hour more. So the decision was bit towards us. These kind of things are very common in sales, which you cannot do. There is no option for you. You have only one shot. So that I would say, every startup has to pick it up very seriously, because that would, make or break for the companies.
I think that's a very valid point. Being, running a sales training company, I completely, empathize with you. I think,
I know what,
yeah. So gone are those days of eye to eye, belly to belly selling, when you're in front of the customer. Now it's Zoom to Zoom selling.
That's right.
Right. And those of us who can adapt to it, bring technology into the fray, I think those are the ones who are eventually going to sell better, sell more effectively.
Yeah, and one last point I would say is that now it becomes even more important how you represent your solution than what you were before. You always had a chance to go and fix it, but now you don't have any chance, because the moment you lost your opportunity, there's 10 other folks online waiting for the customer. So every product, every, I would say the experience that customer expects in that meeting should be unique. That I think will push the companies to think more innovatively. That's what I would say.
Absolutely. So right, Rakesh. I think these are very, very valid points. Kshitish, this is something you've come across enterprises as well. This is one of the biggest challenges that they are facing, adapting to the new normal.
I would not say so that they're facing challenge. Definitely, they are trying out. They are trying out different technologies when they are looking at. Because see, what we have realized is that there is no option but to really digitize, or you have to go to be in that world. But there are 2 things which we used to have luxury earlier. Earlier everybody used to have a luxury called must have and good to have in technology space, right? And they used to make those choices based on that. But if you look at it, the competition, as he rightly pointed out, competition is so high and intense, and everybody is smarter than the other, and everybody wants to enable their salesperson to be smarter than the other, right? And this is getting merged, right? So if you look at must have was for your survival, and good to have was something like a luxury, or to showcase something extraordinary, unique for yourself. But this is merging so drastically and so fast that everything is becoming like a must have technology for you to really go around. And you must have heard all of them spoke about collaboration to the core, right? Everybody said definitely we are working online or offline or work from office, but collaboration tools, I think so mostly everybody really voted for that. right? So we are seeing everybody jumping into it. Definitely, sooner or later, everybody will reach there. But whatever suits that company best, because it's there's no blind game here. Whatever it is, because the resources are very limited for them to spend on. And what we are realizing is they are doing very judgmental calls. They are taking time, but they are doing the right thing. They are not just, they don't have time to fail. They don't have option to fail in their choice of technology at this point of time.
Sure. So there's no one size fits all, but you got to keep trying whichever shirt you've got and then just probably stick to it.
That's what we have realized with our customers, and because they're so diverse in nature, and that's what we've realized.
Right. Even within a particular sector, the requirements change amongst companies.
Yes, I'll just give you an example, and that will surprise most of us. And we started this conversation during COVID. One of our BFSI customers, who is in the BFSI space, very predominant, good name, and they were cloud native guys. They have just born in the cloud era, and so everything was in cloud. And we started hearing from them that we want to become a colo. We want to really move from cloud to colo. That was a reverse journey which we heard, right? When we were surprised to really hear that, saying that, why? Because the scale had gone so high that they thought that this might save some money for them, right? So it's a reverse example also, which we are seeing at this point of time.
That's an interesting case study. I haven't heard of it before, but yes,
we were surprised.
Right, there are always some exceptions out there. Pradeep, you said you were all ready. You had the vision 2020, and then this pandemic came about. So, what were the challenges you faced? Of course, you've said things right now, but March, probably 23rd, 24th, and for the next couple of months, what are the biggest challenges you faced?
So, in the March, we haven't know what is happening, so we were stuck by the shock. So a few months down the line, we understood that the biggest challenge for us would be being as productive we can without being physically there. So that would be the biggest challenge for us. For example, if we are habituated to meeting outside in cafe coffee day and discussing about the ideas, that's not going to happen. And all the team members and co-founders started saying this would get better after the vaccine. This would get better after the 2021, something like that. And then we started deciding that there is no post-COVID or post-vaccine situation. So you start it today, you adapt it, and you understand that this is going to be the new digital norm, and there is nothing better than after vaccine that it will be better. So you start it there, you adapt to it, and then you start focusing on what have to be done, and that's the greatest thing. That is the biggest challenge we have faced, and we want to overcome it. We are trying to it.
Sure. Don't wait for the vaccine, because after that something else will come. Don't push the goalpost. Just get started. What can be done right now?
Exactly. There is no post-COVID world. So there's so many even the WHO said that we have to live with it. And it is better to startups to understand that we have to live with the situation and just adapt to the situation and just go by it.
Right. Great. Sivakumar, some of the challenges that you as an organization faced in adapting to this new normal.
Right. So in my case, as I said, we started our company during this pandemic. So our case was more of trying to identify what other companies are going through, what are the challenges that they're going through, and take this as an opportunity and create a product out of it. So that was our idea, right? So the companies were shutting down or struggling through because their cash flows were not, good. So they were not able to manage their cash flows. The cash flows are down, and they were not able to predict what is happening. So that's the pain point a lot of SMEs and startups were facing, and because of which a lot of them were shutting shops or they were struggling. And we saw that as an opportunity to create a product out of it. So our product is exactly trying to solve that problem by giving a SaaS product. And we connect to their accounting software, pull the their cash flow information, and provide a real-time dashboard to them, and also give a forecast of what their cash flow is going to look like. And if there are any negative trends that we see in the forecast, we provide an action that they can take, which seems like a very potential and powerful tools for a lot of startups and founders, because that saves them a lot of pain that otherwise they would not have known. So, during our early stage, our POC, when we take it to the market and try to test the waters, we find that a lot of people are seeing that as a great tool for them, to see that as a potential this thing. So we used that opportunity to create a product out of it. So in that sense, it was kind of a blessing in disguise for us.
Converting challenges into opportunities.
Absolutely.
Great. Gentlemen, one key question, one advice that you would like to give to business owners, entrepreneurs, startup founders that's worked well for you during the lockdown, and you feel that they should implement it, cutting across different verticals. Any of you can get started.
I would say, be very receptive to the changes. I think moment you see something is happening, don't wait for things to come on, but change it very quickly. I would say agility and staying receptive to change is very important. I think that we talk about it a lot, but pandemic has forced us to think like somebody was mentioning post-vaccine, like Pradeep was mentioning. I think the post-vaccine, pre-vaccine. I don't think so. Nothing will matter if we are not ready to take the changes on at the right time. That I think has helped us. We changed our model, as I said. So we should be very, very agile, and it will become even more agile, I would say, coming months or years, whatever it is.
So expect the unexpected.
Yeah, you have to be every day in that mode now. At least, we would have said once in a while, okay, US election or maybe Indian election or something, XYZ, but now it's not that. It's COVID made, like, anything can happen. You can just see that the funniest part was, the jewelry shop became a, food shop, right? Nobody ever expected, right? The people were selling essentials in the jewelry shops. So this is what change can bring. You cannot expect anything from now on. I think we should be very agile, and at the same time, remaining frugal is very, very important. Gone are the days of fancy spending, for no reason. I think that should be taken as a very important thing now.
Very, very crucial points there. We've got to be very nimble. Expect the unexpected. That should be a default mode of operation. In fact, just last month I was reading about this airlines which was selling its toothpaste and little shampoo, whatever, small bottles which they would give as free offerings to their guests, were now selling it just to survive because they had a big stock of it. Right. So you've got to be lean.
Yeah, I think that should be taken very seriously, and also for any new entrepreneurs who wants to come in, because at least I have been now in 3.5 years in this. Point is, even the funding, what we see every day in the news, like there's huge funding, but you have to admit that those fundings are being planned for many months, so they're getting it now. But a new entrepreneur would not just get it because there is a huge requirement of traction and revenue. Especially this was triggered during the WeWork's debacle, where WeWork's valuation went up and down, and everyone started saying we need to see money now. It's not just your potential growth, etc. So I would say any new entrepreneur venturing have to understand getting money is not easy anymore. I have to be very, very particular and precise how they're spending and what they're going to do with that. So I think that's important.
Awesome. End of the day, unit economics has to make some sense. I think great points from Rakesh. Sivakumar, one key strategy, one key thing which has worked out for you, which you want to advise to other business owners, entrepreneurs.
Yeah. So as I said, where I left was, and as Rakesh was also pointing out, being frugal is really important for any company, right? And so that's where managing cash flows become really important. And if you are, using reckless spending, it is like an end of story. So you need to be like on guard and ensure that you have enough money left on your balance to, you have a long runway, so that you can, protect you and your company, from these unforeseen circumstances. As Rakesh rightly pointed out, there used to be like a normal case where we used to see a 12-month forecast, 24-month forecast. But on one fine day, none of those made sense because, none of them are valid anymore, right? When the pandemic hit and when the whole country got shut down, so you have no future in front of you. So how do you protect from those kind of things in future, right? So that's a lesson that we have learned, and we need to ensure that the cash flows are really important. And that's where, the kind of products that we are building is going to help a lot of SMEs and startups.
Great. Cash is still king, guys. That's the writing on the wall. And you better keep an eye on that cash flow because that's what's going to help you survive the downtimes. Pradeep, your biggest learning which you would want to share with someone who's watching this?
Yeah, so one biggest learning that we have learned through the journey is like while you're starting with less number of people, for example 2 or 3, you started to assume that going down the line you'll get more people who will be working towards you. For example, if you want a website, you will be thinking that someday someone will come and develop your website, someday someone will come and sell your product, something like that. What we have understood during the pandemic is like when the capital in the company goes low and the people who are funding the startups are losing money, you don't have money, then everything should be done by you, even the cleaning the floor, selling the product, and doing the website. So being versatile and ready to change, ready to pivot is what you want to see in every young entrepreneur, so that he can also code, he can sell, he can develop his own website, and he can market it. So that's what the advice I want to give to the young entrepreneurs, that be versatile. Like don't assume things that someone is going to change your startup. You should do it by yourself and be ready for anything that comes to you in future.
Great. Amazing advice, Pradeep. I think every college, you're just out of college, but you sound like a 35-year-old CEO, with a very balanced.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
I was once the CTO of a startup, chief transport officer. I just used to help people drive and go to the next meeting. So that's what an entrepreneur has to do. He or she is pretty much everything. Kshitish, one key strategy. You've seen a lot of SMEs and startups. One thing which you feel is a game changer. Kshitish, if you can unmute yourself, please. Yeah.
All the 3 gentlemen have articulated very well. In fact, if you weave it in one thread, they will be a beautiful necklace because all those elements are very, very important, right? Where you saw that versatility is very important, because do it yourself, just pick up your sleeves and start working on it. And second thing is, looking at being frugal, right? So if you stitch these two together, they are one and the same, because unless until you keep on finding vendors, you doing it yourself, you're saving some cost and other stuff. So I think so that's the recipe for survival, as not only for the small enterprises, but for the large enterprises also are transforming themselves in a different way altogether. So I think so the recipe lies somewhere here. Nobody knows what's right. Everybody knows what not to do at this point of time.
Yeah, I like the way you put it. Everyone knows what not to do, but yes, I think if somehow we'll figure out what needs to be done. That's still an open-ended answer. So there's no sweeping conclusions that way. Gentlemen, what I want to ask is, a lot of us spoke about cloud. Rakesh was speaking about, the move to need to go to cloud. Saurav was talking about cloud and security. Kshitish, I'll start with you first. Do you see an increased risk in terms of data security, cyber attacks? A lot of that has gone up of late. And there is a greater emphasis needed in securing your network, your assets, because this is the new crime. Cybercrime is the new biggest crime.
Definitely, the answer is resoundingly yes, because but the more we say yes, the more ignorant we are as well. If you look at it from personal perspective as well as from our organization perspective, there is no horizon which we can. It's like a horizon. It's like an illusion for us. That we know that this is going to know the subject well. The more we go inside, we feel that it's further away from us. So definitely security has been challenging on everybody's mind. We don't know what's compromised at this point of time, right? So we are not even aware of it from a large, medium, whichever our personal perspective. There are a lot of things which are in air, which are known to people. We talk about privacy, but then privacy data is available everywhere. And we just saw a few days back, there were a lot of articles, a lot of dark web content sold on dark web, and so on and so forth. Definitely,
right.
Security is a bigger emphasis, and we are seeing an enhanced need even in the small enterprises about them. They are getting concerned about it, and they want to put it right the first time.
Sure. Rakesh, do you think Indian businesses are, number one, prepared to handle these risks? Number two, are they now more open to investing in data security, investing in security as something which is, as Kshitish said, must to be done, versus okay, fine, if it's there, it's great?
No, I think security is utmost importance now, I would say, because way things are moving, everything is moving to cloud, right? I mean, there's a lot more opportunities, the unforeseen opportunities for hackers. That's like something they were wishing everything comes online and they can take control. So, I mean, unfortunately or fortunately, it is happening now because everything is now moving to cloud, and this have the cyber security is one of the key thing. Data security, I would say. I mean, I'm not talking about data privacy. I'm purely talking about data security as a company. So I think having a secured setup is very, very important now. Because be it a startup or a big company, your IPs, everything is confidential. So you expect, and especially the customer data, the end customer data, which I think you own responsibility for them. And if at all you're going to explore markets outside India, right, it is even more challenging. You're expected to know how to secure all this data. So I see cyber as also not only just as a technology, as also as a profession. I think it will become a very big requirement in coming months, because like the governments are moving to cloud, the banks are looking into going into cloud, and edutech is already, everything is in the cloud. So you can expect how much data is going to save there, like their details, their patterns, everything. You can ask, like someone was joking, like if I hit somebody in Bombay, if I was from just as a Facebook, I know your data, I know whom you like, everything. So imagine that data coming to wrong hands, what can happen, right? Your every move is known. So henceforth, I see cyber security should be taken very, very seriously by those industries, because even we also consider that as a key thing, because we do a lot of tech on that side, encryption or whatever we do. So any company dealing in this kind of end customer business, data should be secured heavily, and they should look at as an important point. Again, for all reasons, enterprise keeps this as a last discussion. Any meetings you go, enterprise security, yes, 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 when there is a hack. But when the hack period is over, when things are back to normal, again the things will go wrong. So I would
Right.
say that is important.
They still consider it as an expense until something goes wrong, I think.
Yeah, it is because see, if I share one such example, because in my experience, I used to sell technologies. I used to sell security, was also one of my services in my Accenture days, gone in Europe. And I've noticed big enterprises, they you go to meetings, you're seen as, why did you come here? Like that kind of point would come in when you talk about security. Unless they are on that particular events where it has happened, you will be more welcome and you will be asked to help them. So that, I think, should not become what it was before. It should be more of a norm, and it should be the first agenda. I mean, see, these are all new folks coming online. They are never used to it. Like a lot of US companies which are retail, purely offline, they're coming online, so they are new to it. They should have a right structure. And even the startups who are entering now should first think about, okay, how should I secure everything? That's very
Sure.
important.
Sure. Pradeep, a quick question. The security figure in your, to do things, or is it still like, let us grow and then probably think about it?
No, like we have a lot of data. For example, we are an AI-based company, so we generate huge amounts of data daily from the cars and from the trucks where the devices are. So what I think is, like, I place it this way, like somehow I feel that, like, companies, big companies like Google and Amazon, somehow they know early that this is going to happen, like someday or other, everybody was going to move to the cloud. So I think they are ready for it. So their security is pretty much on the top class. So they have security, they have the cyber security and all. But like, if you're talking about made in India, or like our data and our privacy and our security, like there is still work to be done in Indian companies, where, like, I think what the hackers would be doing is like concentrating on this lower end startups, like the early stage startups. Instead of going for Google, they hack these lower end startups, and there the security problem lies in. So what I say, what advice I would give is, like, if you want to look at using a tool which you want for your company, instead of going for like what cost it is coming, is it 10 times lower than Google, what Google is giving, just look at like what is the background, like how much security it provides before using the tool, because the IPs are pretty much what the company possesses. So we should look at what the company's roadmap is, like how it's going to provide security, and then adopt to the tool. For example, if you look at in the middle of the pandemic, all moved to Zoom, and then suddenly some rumor came that like Zoom sends data to China or something like that. So that's what happened. Like when you start using a tool, all your team must know what the tool is, where it is coming for, and where your data is going, and then and it's pretty much safe to use any kind of tool in the.
Sure. I'm not sure if that was rumor or a fact. That is still can be debated.
That would be another session. Let's leave it like this.
Yeah, that's probably another kind of a discussion. We should invite the Zoom founder as well. But Sivakumar, a quick take from you in terms of security and privacy.
Yeah, so obviously, as most of the people said, security today is it used to be a kind of good to have, nice to have thing, but today I don't think that's an option. So all the companies need to adapt it. So it is one of the expenses that you would add in your list of expenses right from day one, because what happens is, if the news goes out that, your site has been hacked and your database has been hacked and your data has been leaked, so that probably is the end of story for us, you as a company, right? It gives a lot of negative branding, so the future is really bleak. So if you wanted to avoid that kind of thing, you better, prepare yourself. You obviously it's expensive, and it is not something that you would start with when you're starting a company. But then without that, the potential loss would be like so huge that it will be foolish not to invest right up front. So it is a very critical, element in the whole list of expenses that we have.
Great. So prevention is better than cure. That's a unanimous conclusion everyone's come to. Kshitish, I'll come to you. Of course, Tata Tele Business Services has a suite of products, right, from communication, collaboration, cloud, IoT, security. How can you help startups with all of this?
Great. So definitely, as I said, the overall portfolio width is so large. You talk about starting from plain vanilla connectivity. And when I say connectivity, definitely data connectivity as well as voice. These are the two core bread and butter product sets of Tata Communication. But we have not left out, because this is all old, archaic, if you look at it from that perspective, but it's still valuable and still working, and there's nothing glamour around it. But the needs of the startups are now different. And what we are realizing is that earlier my product portfolio used to be demand of a one single thick pipe or one single voice pipe, which serves 60, 70, 100 customer users in a particular office. Now that completely has changed, right? So the need is now more sachet based, more fragmented, and more distributed, right? And what we're doing along as we speak, and we have also invested a lot of time during the pandemic, is to transform our product set. And we are in that journey. We have not reached there completely, but we have a few set of products which we have now said, okay, how do I make call center happens, or customer servicing happens to be one big segment within our group. How do we really now make agents sit at home and take a call and still respond to their own customers, and all that aspect of it. So we had to quickly transform our product sets as well. So we did that along as we go along. So as you rightly pointed out, the connectivity happens to be the base at which we really have. We have two islands, voice and data. But what we have stitched is uniquely for each segment, there are certain different needs. A co-working segment has a different need, which has large on data, but distributed data in various, but for its clients. So there's a different need which we are fulfilling, but we have now stitched it in that way for them, right? Versus a BFSI customer, which is into a BFSI segment, into payment gateways or something like that, we have a different need. They have a different ask altogether. So what we have done is we have calibrated these products and made it so sachet oriented for each segment. And we are moving in that direction so that we are able to really empower the startups and in their journey to become mid enterprises and large enterprises eventually. So we have the whole spectrum of segment story, and we have whole spectrum of the product story, right? So it helps us to really do that. You're on mute.
I'm on mute. Just thought of this analogy. You're like the food court of solutions. Whatever you want, you can go and just get it, grab a bite of it.
Right. So I borrowed it from Pradeep, or just Pradeep shared a few moments back. He said that, you should be able to pivot everywhere, everything, and that's it. And I think so that's where The challenge is for the large enterprises and service providers like us, who are on one side taking care of the government regulations and other stuff, but are also able to really pivot to their solutions to meet the requirement of diverse set of customer segmentation, which is emerging at this point of time. As we really see, the customer segment is no one solid block. It is fragmented and it is diverse in real sense.
Right. Great. All right. One last question before we wrap this up. What do you read and watch to get business updates? That's one part of the question. Second, who is an influencer who you follow very closely? So what do you read and watch to get your regular business updates? And one influencer, that you follow very closely. Pradeep, we can get started with you.
Yeah. So for the business news and all, like what I pretty much do is like I use LinkedIn to follow what my competitors are doing. So that I think is the legal way of peeking into someone's professional life. For example, you follow all the competitors and you know everything what they're doing, including what promotions their employees are getting and all. I use Instagram for getting the business news. For example, there are some professional pages on Instagram where they sorry. So they're taking the news from the newspapers and editors, and they place a small quoting that like Zomato acquired some X company, like Zomato got this much of funding. So I think like instead of reading a newspaper, so I found it easier and with low time, I found it easier to read it on Instagram because we pretty much depend wholly on the Instagram. So, and for the competitions and from the funding part and the government regulations and what our Prime Minister is saying, so we use Startup India news sector for that. And we pretty much follow everything from the Startup India, from all the regulations, the grants they are getting and all. So this is how I read the news. And coming to the influencer, so I am pretty much influenced, and my role model is Bill Gates. So a few lines because why I love Bill Gates is like, for example, like if you look at the life of the Bill Gates, like for example, you learn a skill, you develop a product, you create a technological revolution, you turn it into $1 million company. Then you know that you had it enough, you sell the whole stake of the company, and then you use that money to like reinvest into the world. For example, what Bill Gates is doing, energy, sanitation, and water. So that's what I also want to do, like build a company, like create a revolution from it, then sell my stake, then earn money, and with that money, and I reinvest into the world for energy, renewable sources, solar, and electric vehicles, something like that. That's what I'm looking at.
More power to you, Pradeep. Go for it. We will be proud that we did a panel discussion with Pradeep. That's
so
we'll have some bragging rights as well. Sivakumar.
Yeah, so for me, I keep reading a lot of business journals. On the daily side, I read Economic Times. I also do TechCrunch. I also read, the News and Short, kind of small, snippets of business news. So that's where I keep getting updates. And as far as influences are concerned, so I find that, I can get influence from a lot of people because there are a lot of things that a lot of people have to say, and they are nice to follow as well, right? So I keep reading a lot of books, so that's where I get a lot of influence from. It's not, and I also find from experience that it's not just good by reading books and feel good and leave it there. Unless you can implement that in your life, it is as good as waste of time. So what I do tend to do is take the inputs and try to implement in some form of other in the companies. So recently I'm trying to implement some of the lean startup concepts by Eric Ries, or the OKR concept, the objectives and key results. That's a really powerful concept that I found, and I'm trying to implement in the company. So those are some of the things that I do as for reading.
Great. Sounds good. Kshitish?
So definitely McKinsey and HBR, they are the collation of all the which you can do it from the business side of it. Technology, they also ingress into the technology element as well. Definitely books inspire a lot, and definitely, as Pradeep also said, we normally go with the biggies, the Bill Gates, what Bill Gates is reading right now, right? or we tend to get those on our social media, and I normally follow that, which are the top 10 books to be read for this year, or what Bill Gates is reading, or what somebody else is reading. I think so that gives us, because for us to really, that's such a large ocean of knowledge, that for us to really find out and dig and find out is going to be difficult. Somebody else has done the job for us. The biggies have done the job for us. So why not really just piggyback on it and do that? I think that's what I do when it comes to getting inspiration and follow the people who can influence as well, and that they bring a lot of influence to you as an individual. Definitely, yes.
Sure.
Going after huge money but not making the real impact. I see these two guys are amazing. I like the way they run the business. And Elon Musk is always a guy who pushes us to think out loud. You can do anything. It's not that we have to limit ourselves. His limit was never there. So I really liked Elon Musk, and I follow him a lot. And on the news, I have muted all the news except Anmol jokes. Obviously, I keep it very on. Just that. But yeah, news-wise, I have muted most of the news, because I like to see when I want to see. So I predominantly follow research articles from MIT and predominantly from McKinsey and Boston Consulting, because I think news sometimes overcrowds your thoughts. It doesn't allow you to think new. So I often get away from news, but I am more a guy like there's a research, there is a valid facts behind it. So I always follow these articles. Basically that's what I do. Of course, news would anyhow come up, because when we talk to anybody, there are a lot of news readers today across the streets. If you talk to any friend, they'll be talking about n number of news. So I follow this very strictly. I never watch news like I have to go and watch unless somebody is forcing me to watch. So that's I would say. I think it's good for entrepreneurs, not to overwhelm with the information and you miss out, what you're supposed to do.
Right. I think that's a very thin line of difference. There's a lot of negative news also out there which can influence you in the wrong way. But gentlemen, this has been a very amazing interaction. Last 1.5 hours, I didn't know how time flew, and a lot of interesting insights, a lot of valuable insights. In fact, someone who's watching this, which a video of which will be later released on YouTube, you don't have to do your MBA. Just listen to what these 5 gentlemen have shared with you, and you can ride through any crisis. So thank you so much, everyone, for taking time out. On behalf of Tata Tele Business Services and the talk, I again want to thank you for sharing your valuable insights. Hoping to catch up with each one of you over a cup of chai offline.
Sure.
Yep, let's hope we do it this year. And yep, thank you again.